All right guys, what we got going on here today is something fun, a little bit different. We got a nice simple oil change on a YFZ450. Happens to be my practice quad. I usually change my oil, depends on how much riding. Try to do like every 2 ride days. I mean, if I have a ride day where it's pretty easy, or I teach a riding school for an hour, I don't necessarily count that as a day. Sometimes I stretch it 3. Oil filter, to each his own. Should you do it every ride, an oil filter? You probably should. Sometimes I do it every ride, depends how hard I go. Sometimes every other ride. I do recommend to do it though. Use the Yamaha OEM one, can't go wrong with it. So I'll run you through the tools, the simple process, the way I do it. I don't feel like there's a right or wrong, well, there probably is a wrong way to do it, but I'll show you the way I do it, and hopefully this helps a bunch of people get this oil change done. All right, pretty simple on this too. The Yamaha 450s stock, they come with a skid plate. I run it myself. A lot of other people run the Yamaha skid plate. I feel that an oil change is easier with it off. So step 1, the right way to do it, we're gonna stand the quad up. All right, to stand the quad up, we're gonna put her in gear. Obviously, I'm doing this at a track right now. I'm not gonna say it's not ideal, but room-wise, definitely a little bit cramped. So gotta make sure I got the room here, which I do. I put a downshift, we're in first gear, lift it up. Make sure, oh yeah, look at that, just made it. Oil pan's ready. Oil filter, make sure I don't step in that. Could use an impact, you don't necessarily have to if you want to come around this side. See what I'm doing here. This is a long one, it's honestly overkill, but it's all I have right this second at the track. 5 Allen, see this, Allen key, number 5. 4 of these. You gotta be careful when you do it with an impact because you can easily strip it. I've done it. Just be careful. You probably should be doing it with like a ratchet. Skid plate, right way to do it. Kind of go side, pretty much snaps right out. Obviously, you can see it's dripping a little bit of water because I just power washed. Here we go, 12 socket. There's 2 down here. I'm just gonna break it loose. There's 1. Here's 2. Now, the quad is in neutral. I'll flip it back down. Now I'm gonna take these 2, I'll move to the side here. Try to do this clean. If you want to get under, you can probably see it coming out. That's 2 ride days. Is it dark? A little bit, but we go pretty hard. Remember, that's 1. Here's the second one. Pretty clean. I've got covered before. The right way to do this is get a paper towel. So as that's draining, I'm gonna go grab one. Other side, we're gonna do an oil filter. I pulled the drain pan over a little bit. You can get all 3. So what's gonna happen here, it's 3 5 Allens, the same tool, this guy. We're gonna pull this off right here. Make sure you're in. 1, 2, the 2 top bolts look the same. We'll zoom in on that in a second. The bottom one only goes in one way. See, it's a little different, it's got that sleeve on it. All right, now let's go look over here. So now as I pull this off, it will leak. The oil pan is saving the my trailer door from getting oil all over it. To get these out, I usually just take my thumb, go left, right, and then they just pull out. A lot of times on an engine, you could see if you have engine wear. Now that this is taking out, which means it's trash, you can actually peel these apart and see if there's any metal shavings, which this actually looks really clean. Even though this destroys it, the oil filter, it's not like I would reuse this anyway, but that looks pretty good. So here we go. I'm going to take the paper towel, clean that inside. Here's something important too, a little tip. With this, I have this cap still. I'm gonna take a little bit of oil from this cap. Put a little bit of oil around the rubber on both ends before you seat it. back in there. Just do it with your finger. Okay. Now there's a side with not a deep hole, then there's one with a deep hole. If you look at this, this has this metal piece that comes out that's got to slide in to the hole. So obviously it won't work this side. The side with no hole goes in so you can see the hole, so this will slide in. So we'll go here. This will actually just sit inside. You push it, it seats itself. We're looking good. So now I'll grab this. Remember that one with the sleeve on it goes on the bottom. Kind of hold that in. Make sure none of those rubber seals fall out. Okay. Kind of get it in a little bit hand tight. 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna get oil all over my ratchet gun here because my hands are oily, but it's all right. Go a little bit here. 1. Okay. That's done. I'm gonna wipe underneath, a little bit on the frame rail. Now at this point, if you look under the quad, all the oil is pretty much all out, dripping out. So we're gonna go back over here. These two, the 12s, I'll hop back up here. There is like a little copper O-ring on both of these. Do not lose that. A lot of times you should be replacing it when they get worn out. These are still pretty good, so I'm gonna leave them. I put these in. It's very easy to drop that bolt right into your oil. I've done it a million times. We're gonna try not to do it. I'm just gonna thread it in a little bit. Thank God I didn't drop them in there. That would have been embarrassing, but we're getting there. So now that they're in kind of hand tight, I can kind of move this pan out of the way, and I'm going to stand this quad back up. All right, now a smart person would move this out of the way. This is not all the oil that just came out. That's like 3 oil changes. Where is that ratchet? That's me, Louis King at losing stuff right here. Hand tighten these back in. Before I get on them with the ratchet, we got oil kind of all over the bottom of this frame. Keep in mind, this is trackside oil change. Flip this and tighten. Please do not over tighten this too much. They're very easy to over tight. Pretty much these are just snug. A lot of people wrestle with this next part, getting this back in the right way. They got these little tabs on here. That's gonna go here, you push in the middle, it slides under, and now you're in. Okay, 4 will go back in. Alrighty. Make sure we're neutral. Put her down. Okay, now the most important part. Oil. So people ask, so Nick, what do you use? We're gonna come over here, I'll show you what I use. Ready? Simple enough, the best stuff. We got AMSOIL 1040. I run this in everything. I run it in all my quads, pit bikes, not my truck, you know what I mean. Everything is in all my quads. This is the ATV UTV synthetic. So one of these is $9.50. So we're gonna take this, open this up, use this tiny funnel, or else I can guarantee you I'll spill it everywhere. Watch this O-ring. Don't lose that. Put that to the side. Put this little funnel in. So out of the $9.50, I'm gonna pour this whole thing in first. For the most part, you're supposed to do about 1,500 cc's to put in. A lot of people do the measurement or they look at the dipstick. Either or is good. Myself does more of the measurement. If you don't do an oil filter, you can a lot of times get away with just 1,400. So we'll do the simple math. This is $9.50. This whole thing will go in. So myself with this oil change, I'm gonna go not to 1,500. Even though I did the oil filter, I still won't go to 1,500. I'll do about 1,450. So if that was $9.50, I'm gonna add 500 to get to the 1,450. So I'll add 500 right into here. We're looking a little shallow. We're looking a little shallow. 500. I'm gonna pour this 500 in. I feel like it's important to, even in between rides, constantly check your oil. If it's coming out, you clearly see it. If you're running too low, it's not good. If you're running too much, it's actually really bad. The engine will push it out and you can blow seals. It's not good. So I would not be over 1,500 cc's on any oil change after you add it in at all. We're pretty much done right here. I'm gonna take this out. I'm gonna put this dipstick back in. Make sure that rubber O-ring is still on the dipstick. Goes back in. And that, my friend, is a trackside oil change, oil filter on a YFZ450. Hope that helps out.